Hey friends, what's up? It's Kate here, and welcome back to the channel. So, I don't know how, but over the past couple of days, my subconscious has convinced me that my life is boring and pretty mundane, which I know absolutely isn't true because I completely just made the steps to make a difference in my overall mood and make the switch from New York to Florida, and I'm really adjusting here. So, I think because I'm finally getting used to where I'm living, that's why things are starting to feel just a little bit more routine and kind of like I'm doing the same thing every day. I know that it can be so easy to fall into that kind of like rabbit hole mindset. In today's video, I wanted to share with you some ways that you can just romanticize your life a little bit more and incorporate variety to help you feel like you have your spark back. I feel like focusing on yourself and making yourself the priority of where your happiness is coming from is so important. I wanted to share with you guys my advice for exactly how to do that. Hopefully you enjoy and get some inspiration. If you did, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, join the fam. That is pretty much it. Let's just go ahead and get into it. So when it comes to returning back home to yourself, one of the things that I find normally works for me is sitting down to write a list of all the things that bring you true joy and happiness. That would be like bike riding with my friends, painting, knitting, anything creative. And I find that is so helpful because it really does kind of take your focus off of whatever it is that you are chasing energy from. That brings you back towards yourself and reminds you that there is so much more out there in the world than what you think. I also have talked about this in so many of my videos before, but affirmations has been something that has really worked in terms of letting go of any intrusive thoughts that I really don't want in my headspace. One that I've been holding on to recently has been, I don't chase, I attract. I definitely have heard this from a few, manifestation podcasts. It really does work in terms of just making me feel like I am stepping into a higher being. I think a lot of other people can kind of sense that as well. So if you find that you are constantly thinking you're not good enough, you're not worth it, you're never going to be loved, that is just simply not worth your time and your energy. So you really just have to change where the cycle is going and readjust it toward a different route. I also find that variety is something that has a huge impact on just my overall mindset when it comes to my daily schedule. So I try to incorporate that as often as I can, and I will try and make each daily planner that I have for myself different than the day before. And this really does kind of help me feel less like my life is on autopilot and I'm living in a circle over and over again, which definitely is something that does lead to kind of lack of inspiration and things like that. And then I also would recommend, just consuming new content instead of watching How I Met Your Mother 10 times. Maybe try and find some new YouTubers that you haven't seen before and try to find something that you can relate to, or teach yourself a new language, learn a new skill, just pick something up that will help you in the long run. Making sure that I am grounded in expecting other things from outside sources has been crucial in terms of just really grounding myself and making sure that I am living the full life that I know I deserve. So I typically love to just ask myself, what are some things that I can do today to increase my mood, my productivity, and what would be something that would look like my dream life where I'm having a peaceful experience? I think asking myself that and reflecting on the answers to those questions really does just make me feel like my life is more meaningful. And it does kind of ignite a little spark in me because I'm like, ooh, now I kind of want to go about this way with my day and things like that. So it's just so important to keep an eye out on where your priorities are. I think one thing that we often forget to do a lot of the time is give ourselves some credit for even just the small wins in our lives. And this really can be because sometimes we set out to do a huge task that we really want to accomplish and get done. A lot of the time, there can be factors that cause different outcomes. Whenever I set out to make a video, and if it doesn't come out the way that I wanted to, that kind of just easily affects my entire day. When honestly, I could just take a step back and remember that I woke up to go to work that morning. I had a healthy breakfast and I read the word in the morning. I think that those small things are huge mountains that you can kind of climb, and sometimes it takes a lot for just an everyday person to do even that. So if you are already just actively trying, that's when you know that you're winning. Psalm 46:10 is a verse that I personally really do love. Be still and trust his timing. He's preparing you for more than you prayed for. God will give you back better than what you lost. And I really love this because it just reminds me to kind of take a step back when I find that I'm stressed out over just anything in life in general. And then I will realize that whatever is meant to be will be exactly as God wanted it to. And yeah, I really think a lot of the time you just have to kind of lay your guard down and just put your trust in him. And also too, if I am ever in a slump, I will normally just go to my Bible, put on some ocean waves on my TV, and just really soak in the sound of nature and focus on the word of his heart. And I will just, really get inspiration from that. I think that is where I feel like my true self and where I get, just so much peace. I think that getting into the word as much as you can is just crucial for protecting your inner headspace. Decluttering my space every now and then is something that I try to incorporate into my week as much as possible. I feel like staying on top of laundry and making sure the dishes don't pile up too much is definitely something that has been a part of adulthood that I'm trying to adjust to, and I'm trying not to struggle too much with. But I do find when I divide out some time in my day to simply get those things done, get it over with, that is when I feel like my mind is clear. I don't feel as stressed, and like there's not as much leaning over me, anything like that. And I also find if I add a candle here and there, maybe add some flowers into my space, just making little changes here and there really does, keep my mind going and like I am in a new space. Just finding little ways where you can mix things up could really make a huge difference in your surroundings and just your day-to-day life. I definitely have noticed that I am the type of person who will ruminate on things that I can't control a lot. If there is a thought that I'll have throughout the day that is just kind of coming from a place of comparison or negativity, I will make the intention to just remove that as quickly as I can. And I'll also remind myself that if I'm thinking this way, that probably means that I'm not busy enough. So I really do try to just press pause on my thoughts when I notice them spiraling, pick up a hobby or try to do something with my time that is more valuable. Something that I also find to be so effective in getting my spark back is just being a little bit more intentional about spending time with nature and really soaking in your surroundings. The other day, I was kind of at work and we had some rainstorms coming in and out throughout the day. All of a sudden, it got sunny again. So I instantly drove to the beach right after I got off, and I was surprised by the most beautiful sunset and serene just scene that God created. So I kind of just took some time to take pictures and really breathe everything in. And it is so amazing just the way that my soul felt after I took in my surroundings and, took some time to think with God and just really be intentional. I think that is so important for just maintaining your mental health. Something that I have really been learning in my healing journey is just how important it is to be gentle and kind with yourself when you put yourself out there and it doesn't really go the way that you wanted it to. I think a lot of the time we can try something and have the courage to actually express how we feel, and it doesn't necessarily go the way that we expected it to or the way that we wanted. In those moments, it is huge if you can just kind of accept what is and let your life continue on. For me, I know I have struggled a lot in the past with just holding on to certain outcomes and really focusing on, just wondering why I wasn't enough for that or why that couldn't have just worked out the way that I wanted it to. And once I finally learned to kind of like let go and find ways to focus on making myself happy, that is when my true confidence kind of shone through and really came out. So that is essentially what I have been doing to give myself a little bit of a audit and a mental health reset. It is, again, so crucial to just make sure that you're staying on top of your thoughts and making sure that your faith and yourself is kind of like the center of your main subconscious focus. Because again, like I mentioned before, there's just so many different things that can change with outside sources. So you really just have to kind of like find that mental stability that is so strong for you to rely on. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all in my next one. Bye.